Splatoon 3 Side Order released now over 2 months ago, and I have procrastinated this video enough, so here we are. How good is Side Order, was it worth the wait, and has it dethroned Octo Expansion as Splatoon's best single player? I 100%ed Side Order to see if I could answer all these questions. Though, I will say, a lot of this video is my opinion, so I'm probably going to say something people are going to disagree with. Actually, I know I will, there is some things in here. Also, if you do end up enjoying the video, consider liking or subscribing, because I think I'm getting close to like 1500, which honestly is kind of insane. Also, maybe comment like your thoughts on Side Order. Do you think it's the best one? Is it better than Octo Expansion? Is it better than any of them, you know? But either way, I should probably just get to it. I'll start off with the prologue and then we'll get into Side Order proper. Also, I'll try not to spend too much time on recapping story beats, so I might end up skipping some stuff. The DLC starts off with you passing out on your way to Unconscience Square, and bada bing bada boom, you're now Agent A in the Order sector. Which is pretty much just the square, but what if a slurp guy from Paper Mario Color Splash came along? Oh, and also Pearl is there, and is now a drone, and she misses her wife. So you and Pearl enter the Decker Tower, which is now the Spire of Order, in search for Marina. You meet Oct in the Spire, who, if you didn't know, is the in-game composer of a bunch of Octo Expansion songs, and you take the elevator with them, which leads you to the tutorial. You go up floors throughout the tutorial, and once you reach floor 10, you find a weirdly large Marina in her Order outfit, who also has Virtual Boy controllers on her head. And long story short, you defeat some tentacles, free Marina, and you meet the proper villain of Side Order. This weird, like, super chump looking character called Order, and it pretty much boots you out the spire right back to the bottom, and Marina reveals we're now in a virtual reality system she designed called the Memverse, which was originally created to reverse the sanitization process from Octo Expansion, which is why Oct is here. And now, Order is forcibly connecting people to the Memverse and grayscaling them, which pretty much means it's pulling them into the Memverse and causing them to lose all free will in reality. Pretty much in an attempt to create perfect order. And now it's your job to get back up to the top of the spire to stop Order from trying to establish a world of pure order. Also, this is the only time in the series where we have a repeated protagonist, which I just think is quite interesting. I wonder if we'll ever see that again. So that's the setup. Definitely a bit more complicated of an introduction compared to the other story modes, but that's okay. But I guess it fits, since Side Order is also very different structurally from every other story mode. Instead of being basic level-based one after another, you pick a stage, you do it, and you move on, Side Order is Splatoon's attempt at a roguelite, where every floor of the tower is a stage and you have to make it all the way to the top in one run. But you know what? I really like the idea of a Splatoon roguelite. I think it has a lot of potential to be really cool, and I think the devs could do a lot with it. I think the devs succeeded for the most part with Side Order. And so pretty much at each floor you get a choice between 3 stages, each with their own difficulty and their own reward, being what they call membucks. The higher the difficulty, the more membucks you'll receive. Also, attached to each floor is a color chip, and these are pretty much your upgrades during your run. There are 6 main types, being Power, which is related to main attack power and speed, Support, which focuses on ink efficiency, crowd control, and weapon-specific attributes, kind of like the Brella Shield or charging speed for a charger or a splatling. Range, which focuses on attack range, obviously, ink coverage, and bonuses for inking turf. Mobility, which focuses on enhancing movement options and attacks that deal contact damage, things like rolling with a brush or a roller. Lucky, which improves item drop rates, and finally, Drone, which I should probably talk about now. Pearl is here with you for the long run because she's now a drone, so she now has the yearning to kill. Then again, she probably had that yearning before she turned into a drone anyway. Pearl's chips add abilities to her like throwing splat bombs, which she'll do once her meter fills, so you can in fact have Pearl throwing splat bombs, burst bombs, killer whales, ink strikes, ink mines, and using her own sprinkler at the same time. But it does take a while for the meter to go up. I really like having the Pearl drone as a feature. It adds something to just support you in the background that you don't necessarily have to focus on while in the stage. Oh, and also the Pearl drone gives you a glide. And there have been times that I've been playing Salmon Run where I've just tried to glide and Pearl wasn't there to catch me. So I think that tells you how useful it is and how often I used it. The aesthetic of Side Order is very simplistic. I know the square is based off of bleached coral reefs, which I think is a good aesthetic for the game. I just wish it ran with this for the entirety of Side Order. Everything feels so bland and basic, and I know that's what they're going for, you know, the whole complete order is restrictive and bland and boring. But I still don't really like it. It's kind of like when I say I don't like a Pokemon design, and then someone tells me, well, it's supposed to look like that, and I just say, I know it's supposed to look like that. I still don't like it anyway, even if it's intentional, I still don't like it. We obviously got a lot of concept art in the original trailer for Sideorder, and I know it's just concept art, but I still wish the final product was maybe even a bit closer to that original aesthetic. I know some people do like it, and that's okay, I just personally don't care for it. Sideorder's stages take a lot of inspiration from Octo expansion with how they're short and objective based, with different objectives like the returning 8 balls, which they nerfed. Part of me wishes they could still fall off the stage because it'd be really funny. Other stuff like protecting a zone, taking a turbine tower across the stage, eliminating a fleeing enemy, and destroying portals, which are pretty much just spawners. And that's it. There's only 5 objectives. It really feels like there should be more of them. Like, none of these objectives are bad. I think my least favorite is probably the fleeing foes. It feels like there could have been 2 or 3 more maybe, and it also feels like there could have been more actual stages. I think there are currently 98 basic floors from what I counted. I could be wrong, I did individually count them, so my counting could be completely off. This is not including bosses or vending machines, which I will talk about later, so I could be entirely wrong. And this may seem like a lot, but the Spire has 30 floors. And when you're replaying it over and over, because it's a roguelite, you'll be seeing repeats a lot. Though one thing that does help is the addition of bonus objectives. Sometimes a random floor will have this bonus icon, and that stage will have an optional bonus objective, which if you complete, you can get up to double the membucks from that stage. These bonuses can range from not using your main or sub weapon, not taking damage, not moving in swim form, etc. Though if you're lucky, then your bonus won't be a restriction, and you'll get what's called a color chip saturation, where any of the empty slots in your palette will be filled with just random chips all of the same tone for that floor. And it's just pretty much if you are busted as hell for a stage, and it's great, I love it. I guess I should talk about one of those aforementioned vending machines now. Sometimes on a floor, one of the stages will be replaced by a vending machine floor, and if you choose to go to the floor, it's just a really ominous vending machine. Just waiting for you. But the good thing is, this vending machine will sell you random chips, and even give you the option to replace your sub or special. But it's all at the cost of membucks at the end of the day. And these floors can be lifesavers when trying to 100% side order. I'll talk about that after, when I actually talk about 100%ing. I don't actually know where to put this section, so I'll just put it here. But you may have noticed I called side order a roguelite instead of a roguelike. If you don't know what the difference is, pretty much a roguelite is the same as a roguelike, but you can unlock permanent upgrades for future runs. In the case of Sideorder, once you finish a run, your membucks will be converted into pearls, which can be spent on permanent upgrades called hacks, which can include things like increasing the max lives you have, the maximum number of armor you can grab, or even just raw damage. Though, one thing I will say about these is you can turn them off if you want to. Once you unlock it, you aren't stuck with them, because a lot of time I didn't want to have anything more than 2 or 3 lives, you know? So, thank God for that. There are a lot of hacks in here, so I can't mention them all, but there is one I will highlight, and it's risky rewards. And this pretty much makes it so you earn more pearls in a run depending on how many hacks you have active. As low as 1.1 times all the way up to 3 times, which is honestly great for grinding pearls. However, the downside is, this makes it so you have to complete the run to get the pearls. If you die mid-run, you get nothing. It is literally in the name, it is high risk, high reward. Hi, halfway through editing this, I forgot to mention one key thing about Sideorder. This is finally a Splatoon campaign where we aren't fighting Octarians as basic enemies. It only took until the 5th campaign, but, it just feels nice to not be fighting just a black and white Octarian. I just thought I should mention that. Onto bosses. On the 10th and 20th floor you have a boss, and what's neat is it's not always the same boss, it's randomly picked out of a pool of 3. So you always fight 2 of these bosses in a run, but there's only 3 in total. This is the same issue as the lower than ideal number of stages and objectives. You'll be seeing these 3 over and over again. The bosses themselves, however, honestly pretty alright. We've got the pinging Marquee Owl, or as I like to call it, the whirligig. Or that f***ing ball that I hate. Depends on the day. Which is just a giant 8-ball that you can let out your pent-up frustration onto. This is probably my least favorite boss, but that's just because I find it kind of annoying. The next one is Asynchronous Rondo. which is just a big spinning tower thing, which I also like to call the whirligig. This is probably my favourite of the 3 bosses because it's not annoying, and it's also a Splatoon boss concept that we haven't really seen before, aka taking out its layers one by one. And the final of the 3 bosses is Parallel Cannon. So you know how everyone saw the side order key art and thought this was hinting at Agent 4 being a large part of the story? Well, this is what that was hinting at. This unfortunately is just 4 or 5 AIs coming at you one after another, and they die in like 2 hits each. Yeah, this one's kind of underwhelming. But at least the cool thing about this one is that the main one does use a hairstyle that your Agent 4 has if you have Splatoon 2 save data on your system. Kinda like how Agent 3 in Alternate uses what you selected in Octo expansion. It's just a neat thing for continuity that does make this boss a little bit cooler. I also don't know if I'm saying these all correctly. I just hope so. But anyway, after you beat a boss, you get a key, which can be used to unlock a locker in the square. These lockers include banners, pearls, dev diaries, which I'll talk about at the end, and pallets. Pallets are pretty much just weapons you can unlock. There is one for each class, and they each have their own kit, which is why you can buy different subs and specials at vending machines, just in case you want a different one. What's neat about all these is that each of the pallets correspond to a different character. Some of these we already knew corresponded, like with Marie with a charger, Callie with a roller, but there's some weapons for characters that we've never really corresponded one to yet, like Merch has a Lunar Blaster and Octavio has a Splatling. At least from what I know, these characters haven't been assigned weapons yet. I could be entirely wrong. Also, you can only get a maximum of 3 keys from each weapon, 1 from every 10 floors, which is just an incentive to make you use the other weapons, which honestly I think is fine. Onto the music. This time most of the music is made in-universe by a band called Free Association, which I didn't know until making this video, but there are some songs in here still made by Off the Hook, and some of the songs are actually remixes of some of Deadfish's songs from Octo expansion. I really like the boss themes like Unconscience, Cold Storage, Echo Onslaught, the final boss music, and I really like the Octo expansion remixes, but other than that, I sadly didn't really care for a lot of the music. I don't think any of it is necessarily bad, I just think it was kind of forgettable, and nothing really stuck with me, and I really wish it did. I know a lot of people really like the Sideorder soundtrack, I know a lot of people love the boss themes, but sadly, a lot of this soundtrack didn't really click with me. Hi, halfway through editing this again, so while I've been gathering music for the video, I've had a chance to listen to a lot more of the soundtrack, and I think I've realized something, is I like a lot of the music in this. Like, a lot of it I really like, it's mainly the level themes that I don't like. The 8-ball levels, I do like their songs, but it's just, a lot of the level themes really don't stick with me. A lot of the other music, like all the boss music is great, as I've said. It's just, the level themes never really stuck with me. I think that's most things I can talk about. Onto the finale and what comes after. You finally manage to reach floor 30 of the Spire, and you're finally ready to fight Order. But Marina tries to convince it that the world of Order is bad, and then Order has a hissy fit over its creator disagreeing with it or something. And then goes into the grate into the floor and comes out as Overlorder, which, you know, has funny 8-ball eyes, which is neat. This boss is pretty much the Marina boss from the tutorial, but like souped up. There's like 3 phases of tentacle blobs to destroy. It has more attacks, it can throw out stingrays and reef sliders, which by the way, the reef sliders have a unique design and I think they look really cool. If I can find a picture, I'll put it up. But overall, this boss isn't too difficult. I think where people will trip up the most is letting the chumps explode and ink the ground a lot, or their armor will have been broken, and they won't be able to get away from the stingray. But honestly, this boss is pretty good. Like, it's done its job, it's good, I think. Anyways, you defeat all 3 phases of the fight, and Overlorder activates a program to cause mass grayscaling, which then leads to 8 being knocked out. You then play a small rhythm game, which I'm fairly sure uses the music from the original trailer for Sideorder, and I really like that song, so that's good. And it ends up waking up 8 Octa Marina, and they start playing Spectrum Obligato, which I'm gonna be honest right now, for me, was as hype as when Fly Octo Fly was playing. I love both these songs. Both of them are great. I don't think I can pick a favorite. They're both fantastic. I love these songs. They are both my final boss themes in the series. Some of my favorite songs in the series. I think I just love Ebb and Flow too much. Also, Overlorder took all your color chips. I should probably mention that. So you go on to destroy more portals, which I think is like, they're oversaturated or something. I don't actually remember the wording. But they're like oversaturated, and as you destroy them, you get like maxed out color chips, and you just become the most overpowered creature in the Splatoon universe. And finally, Pearl uses a final killer whale called the Color Whale, very creative, to destroy Overlorder. And once destroyed, the only thing that is left is a small octopus named Smollusk. But Smollusk is small and stupid and useless. So you just leave, because it's not a threat. Kind of like Nico. Finally, the credits roll. 8, Pearl, Marina, and Oct all in the elevator looking out, and sadly, Into the Light is still my favorite credits theme. Number 27, Onward, is good. It's really good. I love this credits theme. I just still prefer Into the Light. I'm probably really basic for thinking that, but I don't care. I love that song. Onward is still fantastic. I think it's great. I love it. Though, I will point out that partway through Onward, there is a fart sound effect, and I still don't know why that's there, but sure. However, we are not done here yet. You still have every locker to open and every pallet to complete. Also, I don't think I mentioned this, but when you complete a pallet, you supposedly set free the pallet owner from the grayscaling. So you keep completing the spire with every pallet, and every time you reach the top, Smollusk still fights you as Overlorder, and also gives you little pieces of lore, which I'll explain from memory to the best of my ability. By the way, I went looking for this lore. I checked Wikipedia and other sites. I could not find anything on it, so I'm doing this off of memory. But if I get anything wrong, that's why. It's because I did my research and I couldn't find it for some reason. But apparently it turns out that some of the Octolings Marina had helped to create the Memverse didn't completely like being free. After they were freed from the Calamari incantation, they were just overwhelmed and scared by how much freedom and choice they had. So all that fear culminated into order being created. To create a world where they don't have to be scared of the outside world. At least that's what I explicitly remember. Though, I will say, I'm not really a fan as to how this information was given to us. I don't like how it's just, ascend the tower, Smollusk tells you some things, but won't tell you all of it. Repeat. I just think there had to be some better way of telling us this, but I don't know. But now you've opened every locker and you finally get to the final pallet, 8's pallet, which has the Octo Shot. But this is essentially our hard final challenge, kind of like Inner Agent 3 and After Alterna. The Octo Shot is unique because it makes it so the more hacks that you have, the less color chips you can have in your palette. I think it goes as low as 8. And honestly, again, I don't know if this is just me being good at the game or what. I beat this on my second try. I don't know if I just got lucky or what, but going into it, I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it was. But it was still fun though. I mean, that's good at least. But obviously it could take other people a lot longer. I don't know. That was just my experience. Onto the final bits. Once you complete the spire, you unlock Cypher's Siftings, which is pretty much just a shop you can spend your pearls on. It's structured like the Salmon shop with decorations, stickers, gear, and banners. But thankfully, the prices are nowhere near as egregious. And if you buy everything in the shop, you get today's find, which is pretty much just the shell drone that costs 100 pearls. And I kinda wish the thing wasn't limited to once per day. I know it's called today's find, but I wish it just wasn't, and I wish I could just use it whenever. If they did do that, I would think they should up the price of it so you don't just get everything really easily. I also want to mention 100%ing side order. To 100% you have to complete every pallet, buy everything from Cypher, and the worst part, maxing out color chips. Pretty much most color chips can be stacked up to at least 5 times in a run, and they want you to go do this with every single chip. Which on the surface, honestly isn't that bad. But then you get to the weapon-specific ones, which is where the vending machines come in, because you can buy multiple of the same color chip, and if you get lucky, you get the one you want. I think it took me 5 complete runs to finally get the 5 extra dodge rolls in one run. This is my least favorite part of the game. But the good thing is from having to do all those runs is I got a lot of pearls, so I can do a good number of today's finds for a good while. And I'll get to mention the dev diaries. These are pretty much the replacement for the chat logs or the Alterna logs from the previous story modes. They're diary entries from Marina dating all the way back to Splatoon 2 Final Fest, all the way up to the day before the launch of the Memverse. These are just a fun read and nice addition to have. It's just a nice dive into Marina's head while creating the Memverse. It also has a lot of ties with Octo Expansion, talking a lot about Kamaboko. She also talks about her relationship with 8 and Pearl a lot in it, which is just really nice. But I think my favorite part about these is the final 3 that you get for completing 8's palette. These are all letters from Oct sent to Marina, and they're just really sweet. They talk about their time in the Octarian army, their relationship back then, and shows us some pictures of the two when they were younger, which also means we have the official design for unsanitized Oct. These are just nice. I love having these, and I hope we keep getting more things like this in the future. Oct, honestly, is probably one of my favorite things to come out of sideorder. I already really liked their design, and I really like what they did with them in sideorder. And with Oct being here in sideorder, I hope in the future we get to expand on more characters in Splatbands, or even just characters we've heard about in the past and just never had much on. One final thing I want to talk about is the possibility of the future for sideorder. I think this campaign has a lot of potential to get expanded upon in updates, like adding new floors, or just new items to Cypher's shop. Given that the shop only has 4 gear in it, and there's actually a banner in the files that isn't currently available in the shop, I'm fairly sure. I'll have to check on that. But then again, will they update? Probably not, honestly. We already have 2 updates left in Splatoon 3 without an extension. Arguably only 1 left, but I can lie to myself. So I'm not confident we can get more, but it's just a nice thing that we could get in the future. To end off, I think I can come to the conclusion that I think sideorder was worth the wait. Even with all my complaints about the low amounts of stage variety and the bosses, it's still really fun. I still went out of my way to fully complete it. I think it's difficult to make a bad Splatoon campaign. Even Octo Canyon being my least favourite isn't necessarily bad. So I'm glad we didn't get our first bad one with sideorder. I do still think Octo Expansion is better than sideorder. I know people say you can't compare the two, but they do still share a lot of the same DNA with the objective-based levels that are shorter than usual. And obviously, they're both Splatoon at the end of the day. You're allowed to compare the two. They both have their own strengths and weaknesses. I think in the overall Splatoon story mode list, I'd put this just below Octo Expansion. Sideorder is probably my second favorite Splatoon story mode. I did really enjoy my time with it, aside from going for those weapon-specific chips, obviously. Thank you all for watching till the end if you did. This is now my longest script for a video. This video was procrastinated for like a solid 2 months. I'm happy I've gotten to it now. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking or subscribing. Again, like I said, maybe commenting about the things you liked or disliked about sideorder. I think now I should be starting on another video surrounding sideorder while I'm editing this, if all goes well. Again, thank you for watching. Goodbye.